Welcome, my name is Lydia and I'm so excited that you've joined us for Salem's online campus. We have an incredible message for you today, so let's join in.
It's Christmas Day. We're gonna be jumping into, we're still gonna be in our series, More Than a Story, and this season has to be more than a story. I hope that somewhere we've been able to land that it's more than just another fairy tale. In week one, we're leaning into Joseph and Mary and realizing that if God's not bothered by his past, he's certainly not bothered by your past. In week two, we talked about the donkey. And we talked about this animal that had no understanding or concept of the importance of the message he carried, and a lot of the times how we discredit and disvalue our story that we are called to carry to the world around us. In week three, Pastor David did such an incredible job letting us understand maybe the reason that we see this portion in the passage of Scripture about Zacharias and Elizabeth. And what I took away from it, and it just spoke to me, was that God was absolutely going to lift the reproach off of your life. Whatever it is that you've been carrying, he's going to remove it. And last week, we talked about the inn and the fact that it was so full of everything that was inconsequential to to all that it needed, which was just mere steps outside of its door. And so the question is, what have you filled yourself with that is made less room for Jesus than what needs to be there? And we're going to continue on today, and we're going to talk about the shepherds that we have romanticized the shepherds in the nativity story, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, I want to invite everyone that normally worships and participates in Salem Kids. I have a story for you. So if you normally go to Salem Kids, that means you are younger, you're about knee-high to waist-high, somewhere in there. If you are kindergarten and on up, mom, dad, if you're below pre-K, send them on up. I will do my best to corral all of them. But if you're at least fifth grade and under, why don't you come on up? And I've got a story that I am going to read for you that plays into, I know, some of the kids are like, this is weird, this is stranger danger. How's it going? Hi, your dress is beautiful. Got them all up here. You guys ready for a story this morning? Yeah? Yeah. Your dress is so pretty. You're welcome. Hi. Just take a seat anywhere. All right, so I got a little story for you. This is actually this is a really fun story. Oh, yeah, come on. It plays into Jesus, yes. Yes, you can. Yeah, right here, bud. That's a good spot. I like your shoes.
They light up.
They light up? How do they light up?
Yes, I like it.
No. Oh, well, yeah, I like them too. That's awesome. What size you wear? Just asking. Yeah, it is a cool Christmas tree. All right, you want to help me with this story? Okay, all right. You guys ready? All right, this story is called Just the Way You Are, okay? All right? Now, a long time ago, in a land much like your own, there was a village. And in the village had 5 orphans, a lonely family of fatherless children. They had banded together against the cold. And one day, there was a king who learned of their misfortune and decided to adopt them. And he announced that he would be their father and he would come for them soon. When the children learned that they had a new father and that their father was the king and that the king was coming for a visit, they went wild with excitement. When the people of the village learned that, yes, sir. Oh, yeah, see that? Yeah. Oh, okay. When the people of the village learned that the children had a father and their father was the king, yes, sir. Yeah, am I sitting on the lights? Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. And that the king was coming to the village, they were excited as well. And they went out to see the children and told them what to do. You need to impress the king, they explained, Only those with great gifts to give will be allowed to live inside the castle. The people didn't know the king, so they just thought that all kings wanted to be impressed. So the children began preparing gifts to offer the king, and they worked long and hard to be sure that the king would approve. Do you like that book? I like that book too. I like this book too. All right, here. You like my shoes? Well, I like your shoes too. One of the children who knew how to carve decided to give the king a wonderful work. Hang on one second. That's a bale of hay. Yeah, hang on. We'll go see it after we read the book, okay? Okay, you're doing a great job. You're making me look great. One of the children who knew how to carve decided to give the king a wonderful work of wooden art. He set his knife against the soft bark of an elm and whittled. The small blocks of wood came alive with the eyes of a sparrow or the nose of a horse. His sister decided to present the king with a painting that captured the beauty of the heavens, a painting worthy to hang in his castle. Another sister chose music as her way to impress the king. For long hours, she practiced with her voice and guitar. Village people, they would stop at her window and listen as her music took wings and soared.
My feet are cold.
Your feet are cold? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll warm them up in a moment. Hang on one second. Yet another child set out to turn the king's head with his wisdom. In late hours, he would find his candle lit with his books open about geography and math and chemistry, and the breadth of his study was matched only by the depth of his desire. Surely a king would appreciate all this knowledge. But there was one sister who had nothing to offer. Her hand was clumsy with the knife and her fingers stiff with the brush. When the little girl opened her mouth to sing, the sound was hoarse. She wasn't much of a reader. She believed that she had no talent, and she believed that she had no gift. All she had to offer was her heart, for her heart was good. She spent her time at the city gates watching the people come and go, and she would earn pennies to buy food for her brothers and sisters by grooming people's horses and feeding their animals. She was a simple stable girl, but she had a really good heart. She knew the beggars by name. She took the time to pet each dog. She welcomed home travelers and greeted strangers. How was your journey, she would ask. Tell me what you learned on your visit. How is your husband? How's your wife? Do you enjoy your new work? She was full of questions for people because her heart was big and she cared about people. They were all the same to her, the beggars and the rich alike. She cared for all of them just the way they were. But since the little girl had no talent and no gift, she was afraid that the king would be disappointed. She remembered the villagers' advice and set her mind about the task of making a gift for the king. She took a small knife and went to her brother, the carver. She asked, "Could you teach me how to carve?" "Sorry," the young craftsman responded without looking up. "I've much too work to do. I don't have time for you. The king is coming, you know." So the girl put away her knife and she picked up a brush. She went to her sister, the artist, and she found her on a hill painting a sunset on a canvas. "You paint so beautifully," said the girl, who had no gift but a big heart. "I know," the painter answered. "Could you share your gift with me?" "Not now," the sister responded with her eyes on the palette. "The king is coming, you know." The girl with no gift then remembered her other sister, the one with the song. "She will help me," she said. When she arrived, hang on one second for me, okay?
I forgot my sleeves down because my feet are cold.
Oh. Yeah, if you just pull your pants down a little bit. Not too far down. Okay. All right. When she arrived at her sister's house, she found a crowd of people waiting to listen to her sister sing. "Sister," she called, "Sister, I've come to listen and learn." But her sister couldn't hear. The noise of the applause was too loud. With heavy heart, the girl turned and walked away. Then she remembered her other brother. She took a book with small words and big letters, and she went to see him. "I have nothing to offer the king," she said. "Could you teach me to read so that I might show him my wisdom?" The young sage-to-be didn't speak. He was lost in thought, and the child with no gift spoke again. "Could you help me? I have no talent." "Go away," said the scholar, scarcely moving his eyes from the text. Can't you see I'm preparing myself for the coming of the king?" So the girl went away sadly. She had nothing to give. She returned to her place at the city gates, and she took up her task of caring for people's animals. She's sad, yeah, she is. After some days, a man in merchant's clothes came to the small town. "Can you feed my donkey?" he asked the girl. The orphan jumped to her feet, and he looked into the brown face of the man who had traveled far. His skin was leathery from the sun. His eyes were deep, and his kind smile warmed the girl's heart. What? Yeah, you can go down there if you want to. Yeah. Wait, no, don't go over there. I thought you meant over here. Just stay, we're almost done. His kind smile warmed the girl's heart. "That I can," she answered eagerly, leading the animal to the trough. "Trust him to me, and when you return, he will be groomed and fed." Yeah, that's a good spot right there. "Tell me," she asked as the donkey drank, "have you come to stay?" "For only a while I'm looking for someone." "Are you weary from your journey?" "That I am," he responded. "Would you like to sit and rest?" The girl motioned to a bench near the wall. The tall man sat on the bench, leaned against the wall, closed his eyes, and slept. After a few minutes, he awoke and found the girl sitting at his feet, watching his face. She was embarrassed that he had caught her staring. She turned away. "Have you been sitting there long?" He asked. "Yes." "What do you seek?" "Nothing," she said. "You just seem to be a kind man with a peaceful heart, and it's good to be near you." The man smiled, stroked his beard, and said, "You are a wise girl. When I return, we will visit more." The man did return quite soon. Over here. "Did you find the one you were seeking?" The girl. Closer. There you go. Perfect. "Did you find the ones you were seeking?" the girl asked. "I found them, but they were too busy for me." "What do you mean?" "The first one I came to was a woodsmith rushing to complete a project, and he told me to return tomorrow. Another was an artist, and I saw her sitting on a hillside, but the people below said she did not want to be disturbed. The other was a musician, and I sat with others and listened to her music." Yes, sir. Yeah. You want to read the book? Okay, well, here. Oop. It's right here, bud. There we go. Okay. When I asked to talk with her, she said she had no time. For the other I sought had left. He had moved away to the city to go to the school. The girl's eyes widened when she realized who the man was. But you don't look like a king," she gasped. Hang on one second. "I try not to," he explained. "Being a king can be lonely. People act strangely around me. They ask for favors and then they try to impress me. They bring me all their complaints. But isn't that what a king is for?" the girl asked. "Certainly," responded the king. "But there are times when I just want to be with my people. There are times when I want to talk with my people and hear about their day, to laugh a bit and cry some. And there are times that I just want to be their father." "Is that why you adopted the children?" "That's why," he said. "Adults think they have to impress me. Children don't. They just want to talk to me. They know that I love them just the way they are. But my brothers and sisters were too busy." "They were, but I'll come back. Maybe they'll have more time another day." The girl hesitated. Listen up. The girl hesitated. "Well, sir, what about me? I have no gift, but I would like to be your child." The king smiled. "My dear, you gave the best gift of all. You gave your heart, your kindness, your time, your love. Of course you'll be my child. I love you just the way you are." And so it happened that the children with many talents but no time missed the visit of the king, while the girl whose only gift was the gift of her heart became the child of the king. It's a pretty good story, huh? That's your favorite story? Well, that's awesome. Let's do this. How about you all go back to mom and dad? Yes, sir. I'm going to need that book. I'm specifically going to need that book. All right. Thanks for helping me out. You guys can go back to your mom and dad. Thanks, Ben. Oh my gosh. I find you just never know what kids are going to do or what kids are going to say. I find it interesting in that story that it's based on a child who feels like she has nothing to offer. It's based on a child who has been sold the lie that she has to have something of value and worth to offer than to be considered a child of the King. And I think there's actually some parallels in some scripture that I'm going to read right now out of the Gospel of Luke, where we see some characters that maybe also have been sold a bill of goods that necessarily isn't true. And you might not even realize that this is the mindset that they have in their life. Out of Luke's Gospel, Luke 2, I'm just going to read verses 1 through 20. It's the Christmas story. But in those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place when Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth to Galilee, to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house of the line of David. And he went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting child. And while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him in swaddling clothes and placed him in a manger because there was no room available for them in the inn. Verse 8 is where I really want to land. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah. He is the Lord." I said it at the beginning that in Christmas pageants that we are accustomed to, shepherds are romanticized. We dress the kids up. You know, we put the bed sheets on them, and we give them like little walking sticks, and and we get them, corralled up here, and we take photos, and we love it. But in first century Judea, being a shepherd was not an elevated position. If you actually look at the Mishnah, the oral recordings of Judaism, they considered shepherds to be social outcasts. They considered shepherds to be less than. They considered them second tier citizens. They wouldn't even allow them to be a witness in a court case. There's a writing inside the Mishnah that gives opportunity, where was it? Considering them incompetent, that you shouldn't even feel obligated to rescue a shepherd who's fallen into a pit. This is the oral tradition out of the Mishnah that Judaism has a total understanding of. So when we read that angels showed up to men, to people that were considered less than, that the first announcement of the coming of the king came to people that were considered incompetent, that were despised in every way, in general considered untrustworthy. When we consider it's more than a story, that the announcement of Emmanuel, God with us, didn't come to the high society, didn't come to those who had their lives all together. The announcement of the coming of Emmanuel came to those who were outcasts. The announcement came to those that had a marred and scarred past. The announcement came to those who had been pushed aside and pushed down. The announcement came to those who would show up and put on the best look and the best face they could, but knew in the back of their mind, if people knew the depression I deal with, the anxiety I deal with, the struggles that I deal with, the addictions I deal with, the perversion I'm tempted, if people knew that these are the people that the announcement of the first time God shows up since creation, the greatest news of all, came to these guys. Came to folks that were pushed aside, that were overlooked, that were forgotten about, that wouldn't even be considered. If they walked past, you would pretend like they weren't even there. That's who the shepherds are. In the greatest moment on earth, in this moment since creation, shows up to unlikely people. Shows up to folks that just have a myriad of problems. Shows up to people that just feel like they don't have their life together. That all they see are the flaws and the failures in themselves. The message that Jesus is here shows up to people that just on the inside feel like they're breaking and falling apart. That's who the message of Emmanuel, God with us, showed up to. Thank you. She gave me an amen. I feel there's a lot of similarity between an orphan in a story who's been told that she has to give a gift worthy of a king, and shepherds who have been told they have no worth and they have no value at all. I see some similarities and parallels between. I know we read the story for kids, but I think if we really sit back, we feel a lot often like maybe the orphan that says, I have nothing of value that I can really offer. I think if we really peel it back and we look at the Christmas story, maybe there's a lot of us in the room that feel a lot like shepherds of just, in one way or another, we feel like outcasts. We feel like we've been discarded. We feel like we don't fit in. We feel like if people really knew the truth about us, then we would be cast aside. I find some similarities, but can I let you know that the king in the story, and the king, though he came in swaddling clothes wrapped in a manger, he is not put off by your past. He is not put off by your struggles. He's not put off by your fears. He's not put off with the problems that you currently deal with. He's not thrown off with the fact that you don't have it all together. He still shows up like the king in that story. It says, no, I want to be a father to you. I've made room for you. Have you made room for me? What I love is that while he's not put off, he really embodies what he would then say in what we find in Matthew 11. He says, come all who are weary. Come all who are burdened, and I will give you rest. If you are under duress from doing, then you can find rest. You can find ease of heart and mind for whatever it is that is weighing you down. Come all. I don't care what your past looks like. I don't care if you don't have it all together. I don't care if you feel broken on the inside. Come all who are weary, and I will give you what satisfies your soul. I will give you rest. I think it's interesting. It says, come all who are weary. All, if you look at it, come on up, Josh. It's all who are tired from working. Now, it's not necessarily tired of your 9 to 5, whatever your 9 to 5 is. Some of you are like, if you only knew my 9 to 5. All who are tired in their struggle, worn out from trying to keep appearances. All who are burdened with the internal struggle that you carry around. All who find in their heart and in their life the drive to prove yourself and find worth in Him. What he's saying is, for those of you that are weary from trying to, on the inside of you, find your value because you feel so valueless. For those of you trying to find your worth because you feel so worthless. For those of you that are just struggling, hear me, struggling to find some semblance of who am I? You have a king that shows up and says, I find in you value and worth. I call you a son. I see purpose on the inside of you. I've known you from the foundations of the world, and I've loved you through all the mistakes. I've loved you through all the poor decisions. All who are weary, I'll give you rest. I feel like if we can just cut away like all the trimmings of the holiday season, I feel like there's a room full of people and a lot of people worshiping online that are just tired and weary. A lot of people just looking for some rest. I feel like there's a lot of people that are just worn out from trying to get it right, and worn out from trying to prove themselves, and worn out putting up this facade that they have it all together, when on the inside, I feel so broken. I think there's really only one way that we can overcome that. We have to have faith in who He's called us. The voice of the Father has to carry more weight than the voice of everyone else that's told us what we should be and who we should be and what we should be doing and what we should be offering. The voice of the Father and the voice of the King has to become more valuable to us than all the other voices around us. You know what one of the worst voices is? The voice of the past. It's the voice of the past. You did this. So because you did this, you are this. You'll always be known by that. Every time people look at you, every time people talk about you, every time people think of you, all they're ever going to think of is what you did. What I love is that we serve a God who came down knowing that you couldn't get it right, knowing that I couldn't get it together. And He left the 99 and came and found you and I, the one, and said, you're worth it. You're worth it. What we have to do is we actually have to believe him. We have to believe him at his word. You mean you really do love me with like no strings attached? Yeah. You love me even though what I feel like I can give you is just broken? Yeah. You love me that even though what I can offer you is small and minuscule? Yep, I do. I love you just the way you are. I love you. All scarred and broken, I love you. Baggage, baggage, I love you. What about all the things I've done? What about how much I love you? What about the people I've hurt? What about I love you? At some point, our faith has to turn the corner. And we actually start to understand that he sees us not the way we see ourselves. He sees us as a son. He sees us as a daughter. And that's all that matters. Nathan, how do I know that he loves me like that? For God so loved the world that he gave.
So glad you decided to join us today. If you'd like to continue worshiping with your giving, you can do that by texting the amount you'd like to give to the number 84321, or you can give safely and securely on our website, salemcommunity.church. At Salem, we are intent on creating community that is centered on Christ. We'll see you again next week.